Carl Jung was asked one question his entire life: what happens to the soul after death? And Jung would say, the soul does not die, it transforms into what it always was before birth. People were confused. They asked, what do you mean? But Jung refused to explain, for decades, until he wrote in his private journal, a journal that was discovered years after his death. And what Jung wrote about the soul changed everything about what happens when you die. So what happens to your soul after death, and where does it go? Let me show you.
Before Jung could explain what happens to the soul after death, he had to answer a deeper question. What is the soul? Most people think the soul is inside you, like an organ, a spiritual heart, hidden somewhere in your body. But Jung discovered this is wrong, completely wrong. He wrote, the soul is not in you, you are in the soul. The soul is not a part, it is the whole, and you are a temporary expression of that whole. Think about it. Right now, you think you are a person with a soul inside. But Jung said you are a soul, having a human experience. The person is temporary. The name, the body, the memories, the identity, all of it will die. But the soul cannot die because it was never born. Jung wrote, people fear losing their soul, but you cannot lose what you are. You can only forget for a while that you are it. And this is what happens when you are born. The soul forgets itself. It believes it is the person, the body, the story, and it lives trapped in that illusion until death, when the illusion ends and the soul remembers what it always was. But here is what Jung discovered. Most people die still believing they are the person, and that creates suffering.
So why do most people suffer in death? Jung discovered it is not the body dying that causes the suffering, it is the soul clinging to the illusion of being the person. Jung wrote, when the body dies, the soul is forced to let go of everything, the name, the story, the identity. And if you spent your entire life believing you were the person, then death feels like annihilation, because the person does die completely. The ego, the memories, the personality, all of it dissolves. And if you think you are those things, then you experience death as the end of you. But Jung said, it is not the end of you. It is the end of the illusion of you. And what remains is what was always there, the soul, unchanged, eternal. But here is the problem. Most people never prepare. They live their entire lives identifying with the person, defending the ego, building the story. And when death comes, they are not ready to let it go. Jung had a patient once, a man, on his deathbed, terrified. He said to Jung, I am disappearing, I can feel it, I am losing myself. And Jung said, you are not losing yourself, you are losing the false self. And what you fear is meeting the real you, the soul that you forgot. But the man could not hear it. He was too attached to the person, and he died in fear, because he thought the person was all he was. And Jung wrote, this is the tragedy, not death itself, but dying while still believing the illusion is real. So what happens to the soul after the person dies?
So where does the soul go after the body dies? Jung wrote something in his journal that his family almost destroyed because they thought it was too radical, too dangerous. He wrote, "The soul does not go anywhere because it was never somewhere. The soul is everywhere. And when the body dies, you stop being a point and you become the field." What does that mean? Jung explained, right now, you experience yourself as a separate being, here, in this body, in this moment. But that is the illusion. The soul is not separate. It is not confined. It is infinite. And the body is what creates the experience of separation, of being here and not there, of being you and not them. But when the body dies, that separation ends, and you realize you were never just here. You were everywhere, always. Jung wrote, "Death is not going somewhere. Death is expanding into what you always were. Infinite awareness that forgot it was infinite." And here is what Jung discovered in his own near-death experience in 1944, when his heart stopped. He said, "I was not in my body anymore. I was not Carl Jung. I was everything and nothing at the same time. And I realized this is what I always was, before I was born, and what I will be after I die." But Jung came back, his heart restarted, and he returned to being Carl Jung. But he was never the same, because he knew the person is temporary, but the soul is eternal. And when you die, you return to that, to the infinite. But here is what most people do not understand. What most people do not understand is that the soul already knows where it is going, because it has been there before. Jung discovered birth and death are the same process, just in reverse. He wrote, "When you were born, the soul descended from the infinite into the body, into separation, into forgetting. And when you die, the soul ascends from the body back to the infinite, back to remembering." Think about it. Before you were born, where were you? You do not remember, because the soul forgot. The moment it entered the body, it forgot what it was, where it came from, what it knew, and it became the person, limited, separate, afraid. But Jung said, death is the opposite. When you die, you remember everything. What you were before birth, what you always were beneath the person. And here is what Jung warned. If you live your entire life believing you are only the person, then death will terrify you, because it feels like ending. But if you realize now, while you are alive, that you are the soul, not the person, then death becomes not an ending, but a return, a homecoming. Jung wrote, "People fear death because they think they are going somewhere unknown, but you are not. You are going home, to what you were before you forgot." And this, Jung said, is why some people die peacefully, while others die in terror. It is not about how they lived, it is about what they believed they were. Those who knew they were the soul die in peace because they are just returning. But those who believed they were the person die in fear because they think they are ending. And Jung spent his final years teaching people one thing. What did Jung teach people in his final years? One thing. how to remember that you are the soul before death forces you to remember. He said, "You do not need to wait for death to know what you are. You can realize it now while alive, and when you do, death loses its power." So how do you remember? Jung gave one method. Sit in silence and ask yourself, who am I? Not what do I do, not what is my name, but who am I beneath all of that? And do not answer with your mind. Just sit with the question and notice who is asking. Jung wrote, "When you ask, 'Who am I?' and you do not answer with words, with thoughts, you start to feel something, a presence, an awareness that is watching the question, and that is the soul." This is what Jung did every day for years. He would sit in his study and ask, "Who am I?" And he would feel the soul, the awareness behind everything, watching, knowing, being. And the more he did this, the less he feared death, because he realized the person asking, "Who am I?" will die, but the awareness witnessing the question cannot die. Jung said, "Death only kills what was born, and the soul was never born, so it cannot be killed." And here is what happens when you practice this. When you sit with the question, "Who am I?" you start to detach from the person, not in a cold way, but in a free way. You realize you are not your name, not your body, not your story. You are the one witnessing all of it. And when you know this, really know this, death changes from something terrifying to something natural. But Jung also warned.
What did Jung warn? He said, "Do not wait until death to let go of the person, because if you wait, it will be violent." Here is what Jung meant. If you spend your entire life clinging to the ego, defending the person, building the identity, then when death comes, the soul is ripped away from what it believed it was, and that is painful. Not physically, but psychologically, spiritually. Jung wrote, "I have seen people on their deathbed fighting, not fighting the disease, but fighting the letting go. They cling to their name, their story, their life, and death has to tear it from their hands." But Jung also saw people who let go before death forced them, who practiced releasing the person while they were still alive, and when death came, they were ready. Jung described one patient, an old woman dying of cancer, but she was at peace. He asked her, "Are you afraid?" And she smiled and said, "No, because I know I am not this body, I am not this pain. I am what watches the body, the pain, and that does not die." Jung wrote, "She died 3 days later, and it was the most peaceful death I have ever witnessed, because she let go of the person years before, and when death came, she just returned to what she always was." This is what Jung wanted everyone to know. You do not have to wait for death to free you. You can free yourself now by realizing you are not the person, you are the soul, and the soul is already free, already home, already eternal. But here is the final truth that Jung discovered. The final truth that Jung discovered about the soul. He wrote it
on the last page of his private journal one sentence that changed everything. He wrote, "The soul does not go to heaven. The soul is heaven. And you have been there your entire life. You just forgot." Read that again. The soul is heaven. Not going to heaven, but already being it. Jung realized heaven is not a place, not up there, not after death. Heaven is a state of being the soul instead of the person. And you can experience it now, right now, by stopping just for a moment and noticing the awareness that is reading these words. That awareness is the soul, and that soul is heaven. It is peace, eternal, unchanging, untouched by anything that happens to the person. Jung wrote, "People think death takes you to heaven, but death just removes the illusion that you were ever separate from it." And here is what this means. When you die, you do not go anywhere. You just stop pretending, stop believing you are the person, and you realize you were always the soul. You were always in heaven. You just forgot, because you were so focused on being the person. Jung said, "This is why enlightened people do not fear death, not because they know where they're going, but because they realize they are already there." And this is Jung's gift to you. The knowledge that you do not need to wait for death to experience heaven. You can experience it now by realizing you are not the person reading these words. You are the awareness witnessing the person, and that awareness is the soul, is heaven, is home. And it has been here all along. Conclusion. So here is what Carl Jung discovered about the soul after death. The soul does not die. It cannot die because it was never born. When you die, the person ends. The name, the body, the story, all of it dissolves. But the soul remains, unchanged, eternal, free. And where does it go? Nowhere, because it was never somewhere. The soul is everywhere. And when the body dies, you stop being a point, and you return to the field, to the infinite, to heaven. But here is what Jung wanted you to know. You do not need to wait for death to experience this. You can know it now by asking, "Who am I?" and sitting with that question without answering, just witnessing. And you will feel it, the soul, the awareness behind everything that does not die. Jung spent his final years teaching this, not with fear, but with peace, because he knew death is not the end. It is the return to what you always were, before you forgot. If this video changed something in you, if you finally understand what happens to your soul, subscribe to SYC Soul, because Jung's wisdom goes deeper than this. Hit the like button if you are ready to stop fearing death. Share this video with someone who is afraid of what comes after, and leave one word in the comments: soul, eternal, heaven, awareness, home.
whatever feels true. Your word marks the moment when you stopped believing you are the person and started remembering you are the soul. This is SYC Soul. Jung's final message about death was not frightening. It was freeing. You are not going to die. The person will die. But you, the real you, the soul, is already eternal, already in heaven, already home. You just forgot. And death is simply remembering. Jung died knowing this, and he died in peace, because he knew he was not Carl Jung. He was the soul that was dreaming it was Carl Jung. And when the dream ended, he did not disappear. He just woke up to what he always was: infinite, eternal, free. And so will you when your time comes. The question is, will you wait until death to remember? Or will you remember now? The choice is yours, and it starts by asking, "Who am I?" and listening to the silence where the soul waits to be recognized.